Hi, I'm Bianca, and this is Flora and Fate, where I take you along to discover cozy, charming towns, scenic escapes, and quiet moments in New England and beyond. The first thing that stood out to me about Gardiner wasn't the history, it was the way people actually use the town. In the center of downtown, a small park sits surrounded by brick buildings, local businesses, and streets that feel busy in a way that many small Maine towns don't. People cut through the park on their way to somewhere else. Someone walks a dog across the grass. A couple sits on a bench finishing their morning coffee. Nobody seems particularly concerned with whether this place looks historic. They're just living here. And somehow that makes the history easier to notice. Gardiner sits along the Kennebec River, one of the most important waterways in Maine. Long before highways connected communities, the river connected nearly everything. Trade moved through here, people moved through here. Entire industries depended on the water flowing past the town every day. It's easy to forget how important rivers once were because today we mostly drive over them, but places like Gardiner exist because of them. Walking through the center of town, the buildings feel larger than you might expect. 3 stories, 4 stories, rows of brick storefronts stretching along the streets. For a community this size, the downtown feels surprisingly substantial. That's because Gardiner wasn't built as a destination. It was built as a working town. And for a long time, business was good. During the 1800s, shipbuilding helped fuel the economy. Manufacturing then followed. Goods moved up and down the Kennebec, connecting Gardiner to communities throughout New England and beyond. Then there was the ice. Before refrigeration existed, harvesting ice was serious business in Maine. Huge blocks would be cut from frozen waterways during winter, stored in insulated ice houses, and then shipped to distant cities. It's one of those facts that sounds slightly ridiculous now, an entire industry built around winter. But for decades, it just worked, and towns like Gardiner helped make it happen. Walking downtown, there are hints of those earlier chapters everywhere. Old brick buildings that have outlived multiple industries, storefronts that have changed purposes more times than anyone can remember. The downtown doesn't feel frozen in a particular era, it feels adapted, like it's learned how to keep moving forward without completely letting go of where it came from. Eventually, the streets begin to slope towards the waterfront. Buildings thin out, the river becomes harder to ignore, and when it finally comes into view, it feels bigger than expected. The Kennebec isn't a small winding river through a town. It's broad, powerful. It's the kind of river that makes sense once you understand why industries were built beside it. Standing on the waterfront, you'll see Gardiner differently. The park, the downtown, the brick architecture, all of it seems to be arranged around the water. Not for scenery, but for survival, for commerce, and for opportunity. The river gave people a reason to settle here. Everything else followed. Today, the shipyards are gone, the ice trade is gone, Most of the industries that built the town belong to history now. but the river remains, moving past the waterfront with the same steady confidence that it had 200 years ago. And maybe that's what makes Gardiner interesting. Not that it's preserved its past perfectly, but that it's adapted. Again and again, it's a town that's changed, businesses changed, industries changed. Yet somehow this place still feels connected to the reason it existed in the first place, the river below it. By the time the waterfront comes into your view, the story of Gardiner feels less like a story about history and more about a story of perseverance. A town that keeps finding new uses for old spaces, a town that never stopped being a working town, and a river that's never stopped moving. Until next time, stay curious and stay wild.